Hey everyone, welcome to the Hardcore Fab Shop. For those of you that are new, I am Anthony Bronner, and on today's video, we are starting a new project. Check out this old Rat Rod Willys Jeep here. This thing is sweet. I love the idea and the concept of this. I've been wanting to do one of these for quite a while. This one, however, the execution of some of the things that are on here needs a little bit of attention, needs to be addressed. So that's why it's here. This is actually a customer vehicle that we're going to be working on, and we're going to try to make it to where it's a little bit safer, a little bit more comfortable, and finish up a bunch of the loose ends on this thing to be able to make it to where it'll run and drive up down the road. So let me grab the camera here and flip it around and show you guys what we're starting with, and we'll try to kind of get a idea and a plan together on what the direction is that we're going to be going with this project. Alright, so I cleaned out some of the stuff out of the inside here. I got the windshield kind of sitting up there and the grill kind of up there where it goes, so we can get a little better look at this thing. One of the first things you guys are going to notice right off the bat, we've got an area here where we don't have any floor. We need a tunnel through there. So all that stuff needs to happen, but the body is actually not attached to the frame. So we need to make some mounts, get that stuff all in there. The gas tank is a pretty nice gas tank. It's very similar, if not the exact same one I put in a couple of my projects already here on the channel. So that's a nice piece. That'll work out fine. But I want to go ahead and build a little framework around here that's going to kind of give this some protection if something was to run into the back of this thing. So a little bit of a cage work around there will be great. So the way that I want to address that is to go in here and slice the body right here, right on this spot right through there. And that's going to allow me to take the back part of this and slide it back and center the body over the axle so that the wheel well's in the right spot and everything. That's going to give us a little bit of room here to move the body back here, which will give us room to build that cage I was just talking about around the gas tank. So that'll help situate all of that and make that a better scenario. That makes this look better in through here. And then we can take this piece and slide it forward. So we'll end up putting in a little bit right through here. Pretty good little section, I guess. But that's going to slide it forward, and that's going to take care of some of this gap that we have up here. So from here to there, I've got about a foot of gap that needs to have something done with it. That's obviously, kind of ugly with that big void there. So I think what we can do, we can slide the transmission, we can slide the firewall and everything forward onto the transmission up to this spot right here. That's going to be about 9 inches or so right there, give or take. And that's going to be huge. That'll make a big difference. That'll put us just a few inches here off of the distributor. So once we get that kind of sitting there, we can look at it and kind of readdress that a little bit. The windshield frame obviously needs chopped down. The thing is way too tall. So I think what we're going to end up probably doing with that is we'll probably slice it, right along here, slice it along there, take out this section in the middle. Kind of sucks a little bit because I do love the Willys script right there, but we'll have the Willys script right there to use somewhere else if we need to, which we might end up needing a little piece in through here just to kind of cap this off. And if we do, we'll use that Willys script in here and it'll be back in the body. If not, we'll find another place for it, but that'll take that section out there so that when you're sitting in here and getting as low as possible, you can see over this piece here, because right now you're not going to be able to see over the dash. And that'll bring this whole thing down quite a bit. I think we might still end up cutting a section out of the windshield here to be able to drop it a little bit lower and have a nicer look there too. And since I was talking about sitting in the thing, I went ahead and put the seats in here and just kind of blocked them up for the moment so you guys can see what those look like. These are an Iron Ace seat, I believe. I know that because I kind of stole this look and feel for Hookers and Blow and for Old Crow. It's kind of where I got the idea for these seats that I've got in there. But with those sitting in here, you can see that there's not a lot of leg room in here. And if I put the tape measure in here, right there, we're like 22 inches from the edge of the seat to where the floorboard is. And then you got to figure there'll be a pedal standing out from that, and a gas pedal, brake pedal. So there really wouldn't be much room there at all to be able to have your legs in this thing and drive it. It wouldn't be comfortable. So I think by cutting it here or maybe over here, somewhere in there, and stretching this body out, it's going to make it way more comfortable to drive. Now moving forward here, guess the chassis was a running and driving chassis before the Willys body got sit on there. So the motor and the tranny should be good. We shouldn't have anything there to deal with. But the exhaust, it definitely lacks a little to be desired. So need to kind of address that a little bit. This part here is the part that cracked me up more than anything. I'll stick my finger in that gap. Anyways, yeah, we'll have to address that, get some different headers going on there and get something there that'll look better for all of that. The front end has got the Jeep front end still there, but as you can see, the radiator is bigger than the gap between the headlights. So in order to get the headlights to fit in there and everything, I believe we probably should try to find a different radiator. Then we can get the headlights in the holes where they go, if we still use these lights, which I don't know. We'll worry about that later on when we get to that point. We've got the front axle here to deal with as well. Let me move this grill and you guys can look at that. So besides the front axle not allowing the grill to go on there and get that to where that would look good, it's got some stuff going on here that's a little bit fugly. You know, we've got torch cut brackets, probably torch cut holes, a few little goober welds here on the rods and everything, kind of holding everything together here. And I really kind of personally would just feel better if it went out the door with a little better stuff on here than what's on here right now, because I mean, it probably would hold up and might be okay, but it's a little on the sketchy side. So I think we'll probably go through here and clean this up, readdress some of that a little bit, and change some of that around as we're doing it. For the steering box situation here, I'm guessing it's off some kind of a truck or something. I'm really not sure, honestly, what that is. And it's sitting in the right spot. It's lined up there with the bolt there and the suspension, so everything should actually work pretty good as far as that goes. No bumps there or anything, but they're again a little sketchy, but that's not probably the worst part of everything that I've seen on it. So we might be able to leave some of that. Probably going to end up getting a different style of master cylinder and maybe Willwood or something like that mounted underneath the dash. So that'll look a little cleaner and work better than, you know, one of those that should have a booster on it. The steering shaft, I'm not sure if it's going to be currently long enough or not once we stretch everything. It also doesn't have a bearing in there supporting anything. Somebody cut that off and then left it, you know, just kind of unsupported in there. So it really ought to have a bearing in there. And we'll see kind of how all that plays out when we get to that point there as well. So we've got the shifter to deal with. Shifter's kind of there and probably would work a little bit, but definitely needs more of a handle than just that little bit of a wrench that's sticking up there. Looking past to the rest of the chassis, it's actually a square tubing chassis. It looks like a 2x3 chassis, eighth wall would be my guess here just looking at it. And the rear end is a Toyota rear end. Those are actually really strong little rear ends if you guys aren't aware. So that ought to actually be a pretty decent unit behind the 350 and the 400 turbo trans. So that's all good. The rear suspension, although it's not the prettiest, it doesn't look like it would probably come out of here. So I guess we'll probably go ahead and leave that. We might, you know, clean up some of this a little bit here and obviously weld stuff that's not welded and maybe grind out and re-weld some stuff that's kind of boogered up in there. But overall, I think we're going to try to use as much of it as we can to be able to make that work. There's random stuff sticking out here that was probably for, you know, the other body or whatever. So that stuff needs cut off and cleaned up and, you know, mounts made and all that kind of stuff. But I think we got a halfway decent base to start with here. Another thing here at the back, the tailgate isn't mounted, so we need to mount that as well. Have to come up with a place to put the battery, and of course it's going to need, you know, wiring and fuel lines and yada yada yada. A bunch of, you know, little nitnoid stuff that we're going to have to go in there and do. But I think for the most part we've got a fairly decent looking chassis. I might go in there and throw a few gussets here and there in it to clean up some of that stuff, you know, like the extra brackets and things on the sides we don't need, and maybe fish plate a little bit of stuff. But I think overall we can use it, and we've got a decent base to start with. roll now?
Different shit, but yeah.
Kinda.
Big screwdriver.
This one also doesn't roll.
Well, again, that's an option to make it turn easier.
Oh, that's a turning brake.
Yeah.
Turning brake.
Yeah.
I see. This one rolls.
And not a single bleeder is a single.
That one's pretty tight too. Alright, so it's getting brutal here in the shop. It's pushing 100 degrees right now, so I'm going to call our day one here done on this thing. Got quite a little bit done with it with Corey's help. You guys probably seen him running around in the video and everything there on the time lapse as well. So you guys know that I've got a ton of projects and I'm got water clear over my head on all that. I needed some scuba gear to help get this one done, so I called in reinforcements and Corey stepped up and he's helping me out on this one. So big shout out to him on that. But currently right now we have got everything stripped down and off of it, and now the phone's ringing. All right, I'm back. That was somebody calling me about my car warranty. I told them that I was having a few problems with my Jeep, but didn't seem like they were going to be able to help me out, so I just ended up having to hang up on them. Anyways, let me show you guys what all we've found here on this and some of the other stuff that we're going to have to end up doing here to get this thing right. So we ended up just taking the whole front end off this thing. There was a lot of little things here, the more I looked at it, that just ended up kind of being issues. Like, for one, the leaf spring wasn't even bolted to that bracket. You can tell that because, you know, that hole's not big enough, and there's not even one there, period, to even have a U-bolt in. So, yeah, there's that. And then all of these rods, the more I started looking, there's not a bung in there. It looks like they just stuck a nut in there and welded it. And the weld does not look that great. So that's kind of scary a little bit right there as well. Plus, just by feeling it, I mean, this is some pretty lightweight stuff. So I'm guessing maybe just water pipe is what it is. It's also kind of bent there a little bit too. So all of that's kind of sketchy. I think we're probably better off just to maybe start over on most of that and go from there. So we've got that to deal with. The motor mount has got, you can see the ID plate, so it's been inspected, but anyways, there's a little tack right there, and that is tacking this here in, and that's what's actually holding the motor in. So really, a little tack there and a little tack there on the backside is all there is holding the motor in there. So I'm probably going to have to take the motor up and out of there and go ahead and at least, you know, put something in here and weld that up to where it's doing a little more something than just a couple tacks to hold the motor in. So there's that. The rear end has got some more issues that I didn't notice before. You can kind of see now they use like some stock style track bars here to locate the rear end, which isn't not necessarily that bad. This one seems like it might be kind of okay. I mean, it's in there, but it's in single shear, not double shear. But they didn't even put a washer on the backside. And I'm pretty sure they didn't put any kind of sleeve or anything in there to keep the tube from collapsing, because we'll show you on the other side here in a second what that's like. When I take the tire here and just push it with my leg, you can see what happens here. So that is all collapsed inside there, so I'm going to have to take that apart and probably put a sleeve in here, and then I want to go ahead and build a bracket to come out here and then give this some support on the outside and put this, like I said, in a double shear mode, so it'll be a lot stronger there. We also have an issue with the track bar. I noticed that this little dog bone thing going on was kind of crooked, so got to measure and everything all out, and the rear end is actually that far out of whack. So good, you know, 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch or something like that to this side. And I think it's that way because of the panhard bar. Looks like they put the panhard bar in there, also using another stock piece there, which I get it, that's fine. But looks like they did not build this bracket out quite far enough to allow the rear end to be in the right spot. So it's got everything kind of twisted and messed up there. So this is kind of, you know, maybe lacks a little to be desired. We'll just say that here on this mount. So I think I'll end up just cutting that off, reworking a mount for that, and that'll allow us to center the rear end back over where it needs to be, and then also give that a lot better structural integrity there as well. So there's all that. The welds here, some of these kind of look like they might be a little on the cold side. So I'm gonna go ahead and grind these down and fish plate all of this on both sides and make that to where that's gonna be a little bit better scenario there, so we don't have to worry about any of that. And I think the cage I'm gonna end up building back here on the back side, which I actually already got started on a little bit right there. But I think we'll put a bar in to kind of tie it to that lower piece there of the frame rail as well. That'll give us a place to actually put a new mount here, and then we'll also kind of tie this whole thing all together. So I think that will end up being a lot better scenario. So a couple more things there to deal with than we were anticipating on to begin with, but not too big of a deal, not the end of the world. Definitely stuff you just got to deal with when you're working on something that's older and already been worked on before. So speaking of which, yeah, we've already know that we've got some issues going on here with our front axle. But the more that I looked at it, I've seen some other things with it too that I really don't like. So let me show you that a little bit closer now that it's out. So we talked about the torch cut brackets and the fact that we have no U-bolts on the spring holding the axle in there. With that, the only thing that was actually holding the axle in was the shocks. So when they stretched out, it still didn't have enough pressure off of that spring to let it release and fall out. So that's what was holding everything kind of together there. But this stuff here is kind of a little bit on the sketchy side too. Just kind of got those butted together and just sitting there, and then welded around there. Also just a nut just stuck on the end of there, and then kind of some goobered up welds on there for that. So I think we're going to probably end up having to go ahead and cut all of that stuff off and throw it all away. There is some issues going on down here as well. They've kind of, you know, hacked and whacked on that a little bit too. So I'm going to see what I can do to come up with something for that, to fix that. And also, when they put this stuff in here, they hacked away a bunch of the material here to where the center web is basically, you know, showing. So we don't have any eye left in our I-beam. That's kind of a little bit on the scary side as well too. So yeah, gonna have to probably do something with that as well. So if you guys want to follow along with the Jeep and see how it turns out, I'm going to post the next video in this series right up in there. And then below that, I'm going to post you guys up another playlist of some of our other cool stuff that we've got going on here in the shop. So I guess with that, that's all I got for you guys today, because I'm sweating my rear off. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.